In rugby, there's no bigger challenge, no steeper mountain to climb than facing the All Blacks in their own fortress. Winning there once is a miracle. Doing it again, that's supposed to be impossible. This is the story of how the Springboks defied the odds and stole the victory in New Zealand twice. These weren't just wins, they were heists, pulled off with brutal defense, pinpoint kicking, and a belief that just wouldn't crack. But for all the drama on enemy soil, the rivalry's most powerful chapter was written back home. It was forged in a cauldron of history, hope, and the deafening roar of a nation in a battle on sacred ground in Soweto that would come to define a generation. This is how respect in the fiercest rivalry in sport is earned in the toughest of battles. To really appreciate these heists, you first have to understand the battlefield. The rivalry between the Springboks and the All Blacks goes all the way back to 1921. It's a 100-year saga of two countries whose national identities are basically woven into the game of rugby. For decades, it was a clash of titans, a brutal, seesawing fight for who was the best in the world. New Zealand is a rugby fortress. Statistically, winning there is one of the hardest things to do in any sport, period. The crowd, the aura of the black jersey, and the relentless quality of the team all creating this intimidating wall of pressure. For the Springboks, every win is earned through blood, sweat, and sheer will, and in 1998, they staged the first great heist. The year is 1998. The Tri Nations is still a new thing, and New Zealand have pretty much owned it from the start. The Springboks, under coach Nick Mallett, were on a world record 17 test winning streak and building something special. But to be truly great, they had to conquer their final frontier, New Zealand. They landed in Wellington to face a scary good All Black side at the legendary Athletic Park, and the challenge was immense. The All Blacks had giants of the game like Jonah Lomu and Christian Cullen. The Boks, though, came with a plan built on one brutal, simple principle: defense. A granite-hard defensive line. The first half was an absolute arm wrestle, a war of attrition. The Springboks' defense was incredible, with centers Peter Mulder and Andrew Atkin making bone-rattling tackles, and that just shut down the All Blacks' feared attack. At halftime, the score was a tense 3-0 to the Springboks. The second half saw the All Blacks throw everything they had at the Green Wall. If you like this content, please hit the subscribe button. But the box just wouldn't break. All Blacks fly of Carlos Spencer, feeling the immense pressure from the South African defense, missed a series of crucial penalties. Then, with only 9 minutes left, the decisive moment arrived. Off a scrum deep in All Black territory, a slick, perfectly executed move saw Peter Rousseau slice through and score the game's only try. The final score was 13-3. The Springboks hadn't won in New Zealand since 1981, and with that try, a 17-year drought on Kiwi soil was finally broken. It wasn't just a win, it was a statement that proved the fortress could be breached and laid the groundwork for their first ever Tri Nations title. Fast forward 11 years, and the stakes were just as high. The 2009 Springboks were a phenomenal team. The reigning world champions had already beaten the All Blacks twice that year in South Africa. They flew to Hamilton, knowing that one more victory would secure the Tri Nations title on New Zealand soil, an almost unthinkable achievement. The problem? They were up against a wounded All Black team, out for revenge. With the master Dan Carter back in the lineout, Waikato Stadium was set for a massive title decider. What followed was a masterclass in strategy and pure nerve. The Springboks unleashed a weapon that would define that era, the long-range boot. Fullback Frans Steyn left the Hamilton crowd stunned with two monster penalties from 61 and 57 meters out. Each kick sailing through the post was a psychological blow that gave the Boks an early edge. The first half was a tactical chess match. Only in the second half, centre Jean de Villiers picked off a Dan Carter pass and sprinted away to score, stretching the lead to what looked like an unassailable 17 points. But the All Blacks, as they always do, came storming back. Tries from Sivivatu and Captain Richie McCaw set up a nail-biting finish. With just a minute to go, the All Blacks were hammering the back line, but the defence held firm. The final whistle blew, 32-29. The Springboks had done it again. They had won the Tri-Nations in New Zealand, completing a historic 3-0 clean sweep against their greatest rival for the year. After two incredible heists on enemy turf, the rivalry's most powerful chapter unfolded back home, on the ground that was both sacred and symbolic. The year is 2010, and for the first time, for the nation, it was a unifying moment, echoing the spirits of the 1995 World Cup. This game wasn't about stealing a win. It was about defending honor in front of a roaring crowd of nearly 95,000 people at the new F&B Stadium. The atmosphere was electric. The All Blacks were on fire and had already locked up the Tri-Nations trophy. For the Springboks, and especially for their captain John Smith, his 100th test, this was all about pride. What everyone witnessed was one of the most dramatic rugby games ever played. It was a back and forth epic. Morné Steyn and Dan Carter traded penalties, both kicking with unbelievable accuracy. A try from the Springbok Skalkberger was answered by an All Black prop Tony Woodcock, leaving the Boks with a slim 16-14 lead at the half. The second half was just as tense. The Springboks clung to their lead, and with just 3 minutes left, they were up 22-17, on the verge of a legendary victory. But then, the All Blacks did what they do best. A try from Richie McCaw tied the score, and as the final seconds ticked away, a break from Ma'a Nonu, leaving John Smith with Nonu's boot in his hand, sent fullback Israel Dag over for the game-winning try. The final score, All Blacks 29, Springboks 22. This was a grueling test of fitness and mental strength that left the Springboks devastated. The two heists in New Zealand in 1998 and 2009 were moments of tactical genius and sheer bloody-minded determination. They proved that the impossible was possible, that the fortress could indeed be stormed. They were victories built on a ferocious defense and nerves of steel. The 2010 Soweto test, despite the heartbreak, showcased the true soul of the rivalry. Between these giants of rugby, victory is never simply given. The dominance is always temporary. For more than a century, they have pushed each other to the absolute limits, forging a bond built on the hardest hits and the deepest respect. Because in this rivalry, more than any other, respect is earned in the toughest of battles. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, please like and subscribe for more rugby history. Let us know in the comments which Springbok versus All Black match is your all-time favorite.